What's the word, y'all? My favorite time of the day is sitting down here after a full slate of games to talk about the things I saw. I want to say I appreciate y'all for the amount of love y'all showed on these videos since we've come back into the NBA season. I want to remind you to leave a like, and if you're new around here, subscribe, man. We're talking about basketball a lot. I don't want to say daily, but it is a lot. I want to open up today's episode by talking about the New York Knicks. Today they played against the Philadelphia 76ers on national television, and the final score makes it seem like it was kind of close, but in reality, it was nowhere near close. They blew them boys out of the water. There was memes going around that said that Ben Simmons had never lost to the New York Knicks in his entire career, and then the one game Ben Simmons doesn't play, the 76ers get dominated by the Knicks. There's this thing that people believe that Bulls fans and Knicks fans must hate each other. If one is doing good, the other one's got to talk trash and vice versa. I am not a part of that camp. I'm not going to be mad at the Knicks for something that happened before I was even born. I'm not holding my father's grudges as an NBA fan. What are we in the medieval times? I don't care. And it's hard for me not to like the Knicks because they got Derrick Rose, Tom Thibodeau, and Taj Gibson, and those dudes are responsible for some of my best years as an NBA fan. So it's hard to watch them and be like, I hate that they're successful. But I want to talk about them because they're better this year than they were last year. Now, I don't know if they're going to have a better record because a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference are better, like my Chicago Bulls, like the Charlotte Hornets, teams that were below them last year. But they are a better equipped team to do more noise when it comes to the playoffs. So let's talk about that. So y'all know the story. Last year, Tom Thibodeau gets the keys to the car, and he turns the New York Knicks around. The New York Knicks have been one of the laughingstocks in the NBA, and Julius Randle had a blossom. They had a bunch of these role players that were playing above contract and above value, and they went on to be one of the 4-5 seeds in the Eastern Conference. Boom, Tom Thibodeau, coach of the year. And people really question whether or not that year was a fluke. Because let's be honest, a lot of stuff happened last year for the Knicks to do with what they did. Not taken away from them, but there are some circumstances. The Raptors were playing in Tampa. The Hornets lost Gordon Hayward and did LaMelo Ball. At one point, they were a 4-5 seed in the conference. The Pacers completely hated their coach. And the Celtics had a lot of virus stuff going on last year. Now, all of those combined, and then you add the Knicks being an elite level defense and a decent offense, they were able to steal the number 4 seed. And then we got to the playoffs and you saw everything that happened. Trae Young is in Madison Square Garden, said it's quiet in here, shushing the crowd. And a lot of people were questioning whether or not last year was a fluke. Because all 4 of those teams that I just mentioned had some type of, well, I guess the Raptors aren't good right now, but 3 of the 4 teams that had something happen to tank their season are back and they're better than they were last year. But I believe that this New York Knicks team is more equipped because of some of the things they did this offseason. And the way they're playing offensively this year is a lot different. Now, I know we're only a week into the season and we shouldn't be overreacting to some of the statistics, but I think this is a good base level to kind of see where the New York Knicks season is about to go. Last year, the New York Knicks offense was not great. They had one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they had a guy that was blossoming into a star in Julius Randle who closed out a lot of games. But they were 24th in the league when it came to like 3-point attempts, and they were a bottom 10 offensive team when it comes to offensive rating. A lot of that last year has changed. One of the big things we saw when we got to the playoffs is that the Atlanta Hawks did an amazing job of focusing in on Julius Randle and daring anybody else on the team to do anything. And then that's when we saw Derrick Rose have a big time moment or two. But for the most part, they didn't have a lot of shot creation, a lot of shot makers outside of Julius Randle, and he had been strung thin at that point. This offseason hits, and well, they fixed some of those things. Evan Fournier got signed on the first day of free agency, and I recommend y'all go look at the replies of the tweets from Woj when it was announced and see the sheer amount of people that saw that signing and was like, oh my God, overpay. Evan Fournier was just in Boston and he didn't do a damn thing. And what are the Knicks doing? They got all this money and they just brought everybody back and added Evan Fournier. Yeah, and I immediately knew when they signed him that was a good signing as far as pieces go on the team. But one thing I do understand is that in the year 2021, some of the contracts you see people sign are gonna look ridiculous, outrageous because of the name. I mean, we talk about $80 million, but when you really think about it, in 2021, that's just the price of players. If you're going to be an above average starter in the year 2021, you're going to be making between 15 and 20 million and sometimes even more. The reason I say that, the New York Knicks signed Evan Fournier 4 years, 78, I think it was exactly. And people immediately on Twitter is like, yo, what are the Knicks doing? I understand it. Sure, it might be slightly above what you think Evan Fournier is worth, but I'm telling you, it's not that bad. I might do that more often, by the way, to show old clips of me being right about something. I'll never show clips of me being wrong, but me being right, count it. I might do it often. Because again, once we got to the playoffs, they didn't have people that can create their own shot or even hit the shot when they aren't creating. And now they added that. They got a guy in Kemba Walker, who again, just a few years ago was an NBA All-Star starter. Now, the first couple games of Kemba Walker's career in New York haven't been stellar, but it's like whatever you get from Kemba Walker is a plus, because that was a spot that you had basically no production from offensively because it was freaking Elfrid Payton. And you got him at what, $6 million a year. Now I told y'all that the New York Knicks were 24th in 3-point attempts last year. Do you want to take a wild guess where they stand throughout the first week or so of the NBA season? Now when it comes to attempts, they are tied for 3rd. That is a crazy jump from last year. And we're just talking about attempts. Like, Julius Randle hasn't shot the ball amazingly well the first couple games of the season. But when it comes to sheer amount of attempts, they are up there. And when it comes to accuracy, they're 7th. They're taking a crazy more amount of threes and hitting them at a higher rate. And guess what? The defense so far this year hasn't been top 5 like last year, but it's been top 8. So you got a better shooting team with the same offensive identity, and that's a scary team. It just is. And the defensive scheme is pretty much the same. We're going to take away all the easy buckets, and we're going to dare you to shoot. And if you can shoot, good job. But we're not letting you do anything inside. And I want to give a lot of love to Mitchell Robinson for today, because Joel Embiid was questionable because of injuries going into it. And Mitchell Robinson saw that and kind of took advantage of it. Joel Embiid was basically playing for the New York Knicks tonight. So shout out to him. I'm very curious to see what Mitchell Robinson's market is going to be. Because I've seen some people speculate that Mitchell Robinson won't get re-signed, but he'll have a performance like this, and you got to look at it and be like, they got to re-sign him. He's been pretty good without getting into foul trouble so far this season. The New York Knicks basketball team is solid. And that is going to be the Chicago Bulls' first test against the New York Knicks. Can't wait. Thursday night. I think it's like Joakim Noah Day in Chicago or something like that. And I really wished that the Bulls did Joakim Noah Day or festivities when we were going against Cleveland, for obvious reasons. All right, but that was just one game of today that I wanted to go on a little mini rant about. We shall see how the rest of the season is. We had the Warriors going to OKC in OKC, and for a good majority of this game, OKC was doing a thing. They were hitting shots. At one point, they were like 8 for 10 from 3 or something like that. Everybody was getting in on the fun, and they were basically double and triple teaming Steph Curry, and then the other people around Steph Curry started hitting shots, and that was the game, and that was the comeback. And it's so funny how fans overreact. And I'm not saying y'all, I just mean as general. I'm counting all of us in that, because I'm overreacted too. I mean, half of this channel is overreactions. It's just what we do. Before the season started, there was clips going around about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his changed shot. And NBA fans, I don't want to say OKC fans specifically, because there were a lot of NBA fans weighed in on the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's shot is a little bit differently. And then he started off the NBA season, it's like, what? Terribly. The first 2 games of the season, he was like 14 points and just shooting it bad. And people are going back to that video like, OKC broke Shai. And then in the last 2 games, he's putting up 30 each. Now, I know he got his bag, so I can't say I feel sorry for a dude that just signed a max contract. But the boys probably going to win 12 games this season. Because even a game like this where it looked like they had it on the wraps, it's just like that, and the Warriors were back in it and won the game. So it can't be good for a young player to endure that many losses. He's going to be the modern day Zach LaVine. But then again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had already been in the playoff series when he was with the Clippers, and he was a part, if I'm not mistaken, he was a part of that big old comeback versus the Warriors when it was a 1-8 matchup. And I went to bed that night, and then woke up, and they came back from like a 30-point deficit. So I guess he already has a little bit of playoff experience, but him being on really bad teams for the next 4 years or so is, people are going to start talking. Yeah, he can play, he can score, but he doesn't contribute to winning. Those are the type of things fans be doing. Talking heads be doing. I didn't watch Rockets versus Mavericks, sorry. But Lakers versus Spurs got very, very interesting. I want to start off on the Spurs because I do want to spend more time on the Lakers. I'm sorry, Spurs fans, this is what it is. I made a vow to myself that I was going to watch more Spurs games, and this was like one of my first sit down and completely watch. Now, I keep my eyes open on a lot of different games every single night, but I kept my eyes dialed in on this one. And I've said this before, I don't know if it was necessarily on this channel or on the podcast, how I really, really like Jakob Poeltl And I believe he's one of the most underrated centers in the league. I even made a tweet while the game was going on, like him and Rashawn Holmes are battling for the most underrated. And people threw some names in the hat, Robert Williams, Mitchell Robinson after tonight, which are good names. The only reason I would say Jakob Poeltl or Rashawn Holmes will be a little bit more underrated is they're playing for teams that don't get national TV time. So people legitimately just saw Mitchell Robinson, D-Up, Joel Embiid. So more people have Mitchell Robinson on the radar. The Celtics play a lot of nationally televised games, so they see that Mitchell Robinson's averaging a double-double with like 4 blocks or whatever it may be. Nobody, a casual NBA fan, doesn't know the name Jakob Poeltl. And I think they should, man. Defensively, he has been good over the last couple seasons. Like, the advanced stats absolutely love him. And today you saw more of his offensive thing. So far this season, he's been better playing and like the negative space, and he's been a better roller. And today he had his career high 27 points. Now the biggest thing about Jakob Poeltl has been his free throw shooting the entire season, and the team as a whole I think missed 7 free throws in a row in the fourth quarter that would have won them this game. And I remember watching, it might have been their first or second game of the season. I was listening to their broadcast, and they were talking about how much of an improved free throw shooter Jakob Poeltl was. At the end of the last year, they were saying he shot like 72% from the free throw line in the last X amount of games. And in the beginning of the season, he was starting off on that same streak. And then today, he got fouled a bunch, it felt like, in the fourth quarter, and he only hit 1 in overtime. But a good game from him. Keldon Johnson had to get pretty much yanked because he didn't make a big enough impact for him to even be on the floor because he is an undersized 4-man, and Doug McDermott had went out with an injury or whatever, and his game revolves around getting to the basket. You know, the Lakers are running big anyway. So Greg Popovich went with Keita Bates-Diop, the GOAT. If you don't know, then I can't fill you in. But then Keita Bates-Diop was doing stuff out of his character, and I was like, bro, get a ball to somebody that's actually, give a ball to Lonnie, who's killing the game. Just anybody else other than you. I was super surprised to see that Thaddeus Young was getting any PT because I kind of assumed that he wouldn't play. He was just going to sit at home until he was eligible to be traded. He played 3 minutes, got 2 fouls, and that was a wrap. That was it from them. But DeJounte Murray, oh my God. Listen, I have a friend, and I say friend because we've talked to each other on the internet. His name is Foolish Bailey. He has a baseball channel that I completely recommend for anybody that's trying to get back into baseball or just a baseball fan. It's Foolish Baseball, then the second channel is Foolish Bailey. Before the baseball season started, he created his own, and I know this is going to make sense in a second. He created his own advanced stat. And at the end of the year, he went back to see if his advanced stats were accurate in the sense of trying to predict good hitters in baseball. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because watching this game and watching DeJounte Murray today, I have decided to come up with my own advanced stat, but I'm not actually going to put the work in. I'm just going to tell it to you. We need a field goal percentage or a shooting percentage that subtracts the amount of misses that led to a second chance point. Does that make sense? So for today, DeJounte Murray shot 9 for 14. He was very Russell Westbrook-like tonight. 24. I want to say like 6 of those misses ended up in Jakob Poeltl's hands on the offensive glass and ended in a bucket. So should we count DeJounte Murray as a miss? That's what my advanced stat is. Let's take away all the misses that led to second chance points. So now DeJounte Murray's stat line looks a little bit better than the 37% from the field. He was really good tonight, though. He was everywhere on the defensive side of the ball, passing lanes, just creating havoc. And I really enjoyed watching the Spurs team. This will not be the last time I watched him. Let's talk about the Lakers side of things. LeBron James late scratch because he had the injury the other day. And I tweeted, when LeBron went down with injury, I kind of have the same kind of tweet reaction to anybody going down. When Jokic went down, I had the same injury. Same tweet. Anthony Davis went down, I had the same tweet. Basically saying, oh no, I hope he's okay. And after all of that, a day later, there were a ton of fans, NBA fans, that were going at that tweet and just talking about how X player be faking injuries, talking about LeBron once his team is down. And I'm just like, what does LeBron get out of anybody, not just LeBron? What does player X get out of faking an injury that's going to hold them out the next game? Now, when Anthony Davis went down, you can make an argument that he needed a breather because he had already played 38 minutes at that point or whatever it was, and he's maybe not in the complete shape since the beginning of the season. So let me hold my knee for 2 minutes and sit on this floor. But an injury that's going to hold you out, nobody is faking that injury. Anyway, you saw assertive Anthony Davis today, which was amazing. Before the season started, Anthony Davis said in some preseason interviews that like, hey, Russell Westbrook, LeBron, Dwight, these are all players telling me that this is my team now. And in the first game of the season, he showcased, hey, I could still be the dude that a lot of people wanted to build their franchise around. And then he wasn't as good. But he has for the entire season, I would say, for the most part, been good. And today he was super assertive not having a LeBron James. And this was Russell Westbrook's best game as a part of the LA Lakers. And what I am digging into, again, king of overreactions, because that's what NBA fans do. When him and LeBron are on the court together, Russell Westbrook, for the most part, is a negative. And the reason I say that is because for Russell Westbrook to do the things that Russell Westbrook can do, he needs the ball in his hands. LeBron James has been a great three-point shooter the entire season so far, but he is also a player that needs the ball in his hands. So when the other player is trying to create or try to do whatever he needs to do, the other one is not really doing anything. We're not seeing no backdoor cuts from LeBron, from Russell Westbrook, from anybody. And it doesn't help that they run in lineups of DeAndre Jordan or Dwight Howard being on the court. So if Russell Westbrook did want to create for himself, oh snap, AD is down there and Dwight is down there. And what I did like is their previous win against the Memphis Grizzlies, which I don't think we talked about in this channel, was when we got to the late game, Anthony Davis was at the 5, and Russell Westbrook was running a pick and roll with LeBron, and that opened up to like a baseline jump shot from Anthony Davis and then a dunk from Anthony Davis. The offense looked way more fluid when they allowed or made Russell Westbrook do anything when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. So today, with no LeBron James and really no secondary ball handler, we got to see Russell Westbrook do what Russell Westbrook can do. And this is the exact reason you trade for Russell Westbrook. Now, I'm not saying I love the trade still, but I'm saying these are the type of games that Russell Westbrook wins for you. Oh snap, one of our star players, whether it be LeBron or Anthony Davis, is out. Take us home, Russ. And he did that. Russell Westbrook is one of the greatest floor raisers in the history of basketball, where it don't really matter who's around him. If you need a win in the regular season, he can put it together and put together that win. And that's what he did today. 33. Oh, he didn't get his triple-double washed. 33, 10, and 8. And big time moments in overtime, a dunk, some rebounds when you needed them. Good game from Russ. We got a good Malik Monk game. Austin Reeves. Now he ain't gonna be no Alex Caruso as far as being a huge fan favorite in LA. But they always need a dude to root for out of nowhere, and that's Austin Reeves. Anyway, it looks like the Utah Jazz closed out this win. I can't say much about it. Listen. Who did the thing? Jokic in his 15 minutes had 24 points and was almost perfect from the field with just one turnover. So, things might have been differently if he was able to play in the second half. Rudy Gobert got us over on rebounds. It was at 15, and he ended up getting 16. So I'm in the money on that one. Yeah, I can't say much about this one. I'm still believe Utah fans, man. Y'all got a whole video from me like last week, bro. Y'all cool without me talking about them today. That's it. As always, man. If you enjoyed the video, leave it a like. I of course enjoy making any kind of video, and that's why I do this YouTube thing. But this channel has a special place in my heart as far as just talking basketball. It's just what I love doing, man. So I can't wait to talk to y'all again tomorrow. But until then, peace.